So have you ever become the villain of one of your sermons? I don't mean like the Sauron villain, the big ultimate villain, more like Frodo, right? And how Frodo goes to try to take the ring from his faithful companion, Samwise, as he's trying to save the world. And Frodo can't see that because he's become this twisted version of a human being, right? Has that ever happened to you? Because honestly, yesterday I realized something really important. I'd become the villain in my sermon. I came here to talk about me. I wanted to invite you to my farm. I wanted to let you picture and to dig in the dirt with me and to look at roots with me. I wanted to offer this vision of hope, of restoration, of healing. Because really, what's cooler than a farmer, right? Yeah, I agree. What's cooler than a farmer in an urban, isn't that right? Yeah. What's cooler than a piece of land where Jesus is king? You see, I wanted to offer myself as a vision of hope. I wanted to offer myself and my farm as a picture of what church can look like or what church should look like. And I realized yesterday that I had a problem. I'd substituted myself for the God of the universe. In effect, I'd become the scribes and the Pharisees in the passage that we read. I wanted to do deeds to be seen by others. I wanted to come here and I wanted to have the place of honor. I wanted to be greeted with respect by my brothers and by my colleagues, by my sisters, by my friends. And as I did that, my phylacteries, what a cool word, by the way, they became broader and broader. I literally became the villain in my sermon. I was going to try to convince you not to be scribes and Pharisees. And in speaking these words, I'd become one myself. And then a miracle happened. I met you guys. I met and I drank beer with a group of Anglicans and Presbyterians and Catholics, because those are the people who will drink beer with you, right? And they genuinely cared about the whole gospel. I met a group of Catholics who were excited about the incarnation. I met black preachers who could be poets and rappers, right? I met handicapped preachers who delivered thought-provoking sermons. And then yesterday morning, I prayed with my roommate from Nigeria. And as I met each of you, I slipped a little bit from my pedestal. And staggering back to my room, I got a phone call. My 2-year-old called, and she said, "Daddy, come home." I said, "Well, babe, I'm sorry, I can't. I'm in Lexington, hanging out with a bunch of people, probably at the bar." I didn't say that. She said, "Daddy, I just want to cuddle." And then she said the thing that got me. She says, "Daddy, do you still love me?" Because she's a 2-year-old, right? She said, "Daddy, do you still love me?" And everything in my world came crashing down because I realized that this 2-year-old, she asked the question that we all ask, that's at the heart of us, and it's, who am I? Who am I? See, my 2-year-old knows. She says, "Daddy, when you talk to me, I know who I am. Daddy, when you wrestle with me, I know who I am. Daddy, when you put me in timeout, I know who I am. Daddy, when I lay here wrapped in your arms until I fall into the uncertainty of sleep, I know who I am. I am your beloved." And I think this question, this concept is at the heart of the passage that we're talking about. See, Jesus says something that should give each of us in this room cause to pause. He says, "But you are not rabbi. Don't be called rabbi, for you have one teacher. Nor are you to be called instructors, for you have one instructor. The greatest will be your servant. All who exalt themselves will be humbled. All who humble themselves will be exalted." What? We're not to be teachers? We're not to be instructors? What's going on here? You see, it's not that Jesus doesn't want us to preach, right? It's his final instruction to us. After all authority for God's kingdom on earth has been handed over to Jesus, he tells his disciples to go and preach the gospel. And we need to preach the good news to a broken world. We need to teach everyone to obey the commands of his kingdom. But maybe we need to reimagine what that looks like. See, I love the reasons that Jesus gives to his disciples as he tells them not to be teachers. Did you catch it? For your students. You're brothers under the Father. You are servants with your fellow brothers. It's as if Jesus stares into our hearts and sees the darkest desires hiding in our souls. We want to be people of authority. We want to place ourselves over others. We want to be important. We want to be noticed. We want to be praised. And often we use our religion, our jobs, our places of standing to build something other than the kingdom. That's what I was doing. See, we build an identity. Jesus doesn't tell us not to teach, but not to be teachers. And to us preachers, the good news is that we're not preachers. We're not teachers. In Christ, we are the same as everyone else. We are God's beloved. The voices of our world say, according to Henry Nouwen, you are no good. You are ugly. You are worthless. You are despicable. You are nobody unless you can demonstrate the opposite. And that voice is easily heard as pastors and as preachers and farmers. We hear it in churches, right? Sermon was too long or too short. The church isn't growing fast enough. How are we going to meet our budget this year? I don't like the song selection. Or we as pastors start to say, why didn't anybody show up to hear me speak? Or why didn't I get any amens as I was preaching? That voice, unless you can demonstrate that idea, it gets us. And it's so easy to buy into the productivity paradigm of our culture. And we develop strategies and marketing and programs. And if we're not careful, we as preachers begin to do what I did in preparing this sermon. We replace God with ourselves to prove our worth. At the heart of it is always this question: who am I? To which, if we listen, we will always have the same answer. Instead, we will hear the voice whispering to us in our ear that you are God's beloved child. When God sees you, he sees a beloved child. And I learned this from my 5-year-old because they're way smarter than I am, right? So a couple months ago, my 5-year-old told me a lie. And as a good dad, I caught her in it, right? And I proved to her that I caught her in it. And then we talked about why you shouldn't lie, right? And so we're up in her room, and all of a sudden, because she's a 5-year-old, she stands up and just jets out of the room, bawling, sobbing. I'm like, that didn't go like I planned. And so I walk downstairs, and I find my daughter in literally the Garden of Eden. It was a table. We had this little small 2-foot table, and she was hiding under it. Because what happens in the Garden of Eden when we realize that we have disappointed our beloved? We hide. And I saw my daughter for the first time like God must see us. You see, I didn't see my daughter as a liar at that point. But I looked at her, and my heart broke. And I went to her, I gave her this big hug, and I held her in my arms. And I said, Raina, you are my beloved. You're my daughter, and I love you. See, that, preachers, teachers, farmers, is the good news. If we listen, it'll be whispered into our ear. Don't be afraid. You are my beloved. You are not a preacher. You are my beloved. And when we listen, we become captivated by the word who names us, by the word who calls us, by the word who holds us, by the word who becomes a velvet hammer, who gently cracks our carefully crafted idols. And we become captivated. We become captivated by the idea that we are the beloved. We become like John, the apostle who forgets his name. His name becomes unimportant, and he becomes who? The beloved disciple. We become like Paul and James and Peter, who gently call to their beloved children. It's right there in every one of their letters. Or we become like Jesus, who when he was baptized, he heard the voice from God saying, "This is my beloved, with whom I'm well pleased." And it launched a movement in which he ate with sinners. It healed the blind. It made the lame walk. It challenged authority. It brought the dead back to life. It was a movement that conquered death, that launched God's plan to reconcile heaven and earth, to restore humanity to the image bearers that we are made to be. You see, when we're preachers and we're hidden as the beloved, and we're wrapped in the all-encompassing arms of the Father through the life-bringing death of Jesus with the Spirit whispering in our ear, we can't help but go out. Because here's the point. If you are God's beloved, so are they. So is he, and so is she. Everybody you meet becomes the beloved. And you are called to carry that good news to your neighbor, to your children, to the old man who slows you down, to the grouchy woman who frustrates you, to the person who doesn't fit your expectations. Because if you are God's beloved, so are they. And they need to know. And we preachers and we teachers and we farmers, we need to tell them. But we need not just to tell them, we need to take them the word. You see, the word became flesh. We heard about it right here. We heard this beautiful, stirring picture of the incarnation as only a mother can tell it. Right? The word became flesh. But the other part of the incarnation, I'm going to steal this from N.T. Wright, is that the word became flesh. Don't turn it back into words. Put skin on your words. And here's a poem it's from N.T. Wright that says it. Put skin on your words. Sit next to the hungry. Lie next to the homeless. Walk with the lonely, the angry, and the hopeless. Slow down with an old man. Be patient with children. Hurt with the hurting whose pain wasn't their fault. Invade the richest who store up their treasures and try to buy pleasure but can't see my gift. Go where the orphans fight over the morsels that fall from the table of the rich man above. Go to the churches who use their religion to screen out the faces of the world in pain. Go to the Gentiles who pursue their own gods to shut out the pain of following me. Take me to the city. Take me to the country, to the towns of the squatters, to the refugee compounds. Enter the marriage which goes through the motions. Engage the hearts of those longing for love. Tell them I love them. Tell them I died for them. Tell them I've risen. Tell them I live for them. Show them the hope of my new creation. Show them the joy of my new celebration. Tell them the story of the God who made them, of the God who yearns for them, of the God who will save them. Show them the image of Christ living in you. For if they find him, they will find me. When they ask you why you do what you do, tell them I'm living in the least one of these. Because the word became flesh. Don't just tell them in words. Put skin on your words, brought to life by my blood. Go through the whole earth. Show them your rebirth until every creature cries out with one voice. Blessing and honor, glory and power forever and ever. May the Lamb be praised. Amen.